Hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of this event today. My name is Sarah Danzl, and I'm the head of communications at Degreed. And I have the distinct pleasure of getting to help over 400 clients implement Degreed. And I'm going to bring some of their best practices and strategies to all of you for kind of how we believe that skills and skill data will be the way that we recover all of us together. I know many of you are from airline, hospitality, retail, and I think this is one of those ways when we think about what we offer as a service, both to the world, but to each other. It's been an emotional, hard time. None of you need to be told that. But I think we're in this together. We know that service is our brand, and we know that the way that we deliver on that exceptional service is through our wonderful, incredibly talented people that are within all of our organizations. So, to that end, I chose this quote to get started because I think this is why we are all in it. I think this is why we got into HR talent and all of this respective, what we'll call client success facing field, is because we like helping people. We like getting to bring out the best in people. Like many of you, I started my career in customer service in the restaurant industry, actually. And I learned some of my hardest lessons and some of my greatest takeaways in those times. And I think why that is because it's exactly what we started talking about. Your service is your brand, and your brand is how people feel when they interact with you. And why we have to be such good stewards and why our employees have to be such good stewards is because those are the people that are bringing our products to market, that are actually delivering on those things and taking it to the clients. And we want them to have a really great experience, which is why I believe that skills and skill data to understand and help our employees grow and progress is really the way that we will all rebound together. So to get started, just a little bit of data, because I think it's always so helpful to place us. I know that none of you need to know that the world has changed. We are feeling it acutely and intensely, and really hats off and bravo to all of you that are in retail and hospitality and the airline industry. Thank you for continuing to try to deliver incredible experiences for all of us in such a hard time. But this is what this feels like for us right now. So we recently published, Degreed put out a state of skills report, and this is what I would consider to be one of the most eye-opening statistics that came out of it. That in the field that many of you are in, consumer and retail, 51% say that this global pandemic has accelerated the need for new skills. And even more than that, 52% say they're less confident to have the skills that they need to do their job effectively. I hate to say this, but that falls directly on us. We saw a really interesting parallel in the data that at this time when a lot of organizations are pulling back on upskilling efforts, the need to be reskilled and the feeling of being obsolete was also increasing. So how can we help bridge that gap? And also, how much time do we have? I love this statistic too, because this was so disheartening and a little bit nerve wracking for me, but also speaks to the really great opportunity in front of us. I believe my skills will be obsolete within, and then I'll just add it up for you because I'm not a math person and needed a little help. But there inside the blue box is 98%. 98% of workers in consumer and retail believe that they will need to be reskilled, that their skills will be obsolete in the next 5 years. That's a pretty intense statistic. So how do we help our employees right now? What does that look like? Not only in light of COVID, but in terms of all of the ways that people are kind of thinking about their careers and growth and moving forward. Degreed believes that it's kind of cut down to these 4 things: helping understand supply and demand for skills, connecting that to development opportunities so that people can always be understanding where they're at and what they need to progress and move forward. And again, you'll see this ties directly back to skill and skill data. So I have a fun more few statistics for you here. 56% of workers took no live or online courses at work last year. Now, this is a little bit surprising when you think about the world that we were in. But what we're seeing is that people are choosing to spend their time a little bit differently. They're also lacking regular feedback, which is something that people are really hungry for, especially in understanding how to spend their time and their efforts. And then last but not least, only 31% were offered new project or role opportunities. When we think about furloughs and layoffs and upskilling and having to make do of what we have within our organizations, you are going to see, I continue to believe that this will be something that we continue to really need to invest in, is that career mobility, that internal mobility to support people. So what does this mean for all of you? I know for a long time we have desperately wanted, as L&D and HR folks, a proverbial seat at the leadership table. And the great news is, unfortunately, in conjunction with this pandemic, all of these things have been accelerated. There was a WEF report, I think they put it out late last year, that basically said by 2030, we wouldn't have the skills that we needed to achieve, widespread global business results. And they actually brought that up to 2025 just earlier this year. The reason is what I firmly believe to be on this slide, because not having the skills within the organization needs to execute on business strategy is finally for the first time having direct effects to business outcomes. This is things like innovating effectively, costs rising, quality and customer experience being impacted. That's something that all of you are directly focused on, creating a really good customer experience. And then, of course, things like market opportunities and growth targets. So how are you feeling that? These are the things that Degreed customers have shared with us in terms of what it is that they're feeling around how this lack of key skills is showing up within their business. So this is things like not knowing the availability of key skills. So when we do want to move people around, when we do want to help empower them, we don't know what's within the organization. Being outpaced by technology advancements, dynamic market conditions that we can't keep up with. And then, of course, the rest of the long list. For many of you, the one I want to call out is low employee engagement. For us, again, thinking about service as our brand, when we have low employee engagement, our brand, our reputation suffers. The good news is skills provide a solution to the problem. And these are kind of the 4 ways that I believe that thinking about people as a collection of skills versus a history of job titles or an online social profile. That online profile is really important, but when we think about people, or when we address them and treat them in a way of developing through competency models and things, it's quickly outdated. Skills, on the other side, are malleable. They're always changing. And I'll give you a few data points here about where we should focus and what skills are the most popular. But when we think about skills and thinking about people as a collection of skills, social responsibility, organizational durability, business performance, and organizational adaptability are all things that come with having a better understanding of the skills that are within your organization. So getting started with skills. Now, I want to go back a little bit. There's a lot of content out there about skills right now and how to create a strategy. But I want to actually walk through what that looks like, which I know might be a step back in skill level for some of you. But I think it's important to go back to the foundation. So this is a pragmatic approach for skills, which I stole from our Chief Career Experience Officer, Janice, because I love how it frames the problem. I believe that you have to start always on the left with business strategy. Because if you are not aligning your efforts to the business, to executing on business outcomes, you're going to have a really hard time being effective. Businesses are stretched thin. So you have to be aligning all of your efforts to the larger business goals. Then from there, once you know what it is that the business is trying to achieve, you have to understand the critical actions that it will take to get there. Now, listen, this is actual actions and things that have to happen, work that has to get done to achieve the business strategy. A lot of people think, okay, well, what skills do I need to implement the business strategy? I believe that you're thinking about it wrong. First, think about the work that needs to get done, and then think about the skills that need to get the work done. The reason it's important to think this way is that perhaps you need to hire marketing as a piece, and we'll get into sample strategy here in a second, but perhaps marketing is a piece. You need to increase sales. The skill set might look different depending on the action that you need, even though the end goal is the same. So first, dissect the critical actions and the work that needs to get done. Then map the critical skills to get that work done. And then last but not least, focus your skilling efforts. Now let's call a spade a spade. Degreed, myself, many of you are all about upskilling and reskilling, which I think is incredibly important. But there are some roles, some skill functions that we are just not going to have within our organization. So these are things that we're going to have to build or we're going to have to buy. When you understand and when you're able to focus your skilling efforts, you'll be able to know how it is that you're going to handle the upskilling or the attainment of those specific skills. The other thing I want to call out here, I think is really important, especially for many of you. The business and understanding the skills of the business is really important, but please don't lose sight of the employee experience. We often forget about the way that the employee is going to experience that upskilling. Please don't forget about that when you're planning your upskilling and reskilling efforts. So this might be coming back in time for a few of you, but I think it's really important to actually show the how. Talk a little bit about what this actually looks like, boots on the ground, a sample strategy statement. So I started my career in digital payments. So this is what this kind of looks like when you play it out according to the last slide with the business strategy, the critical work, and then the focus or scaling efforts. So on the left there, the goal here, the business outcome is to become the first to move from physical to digital payments. And you can see that the goal here is to have 80% market penetration by 2017. And then in the middle there, what is the critical work that needs to get done across the whole business, by the way? What's the critical work that needs to get done to be able to achieve that business outcome? And then the thing that many of us are thinking about now, of course, the critical skills to actually get that to happen. And the thing here that's important is think about the whole business. And what you'll notice that there's a lot of fluency here that matches a lot of teams. Not simply, you might think that it's a product issue or a marketing issue to move from digital payments, but the truth is, and you'll see in the critical skills list, everyone should have some marketing knowledge. Storytelling is really important. Digital fluency to understand what digital payments actually means. So try to think about skills in a more holistic fashion if you can. So I ask all of you, are you ready to provide strategic advice that helps organizations compete and win and stop being a push methodology, a problem solver, which by the way has a place. But I know for many of us, we are very used to, hey, we've got a manager problem, solve it. Hey, we've got a hypo problem, solve it. Hey, we have this really intense talent problem right now with furloughs. We're going to have to lay all these folks off, or we're going to need to furlough. We're not really sure what the future looks like. How can we handle and how can we become strategic advisors to the business? And I believe it to be two ways, two things that we need to do. So the first is to build a skills inventory. If you remember, we opened with the idea that skills and skill data was the way forward, the way to rebound, or at least, help move in that direction. Rebound won't be immediate. We hope it happens more quickly, but this is a way to get started. Building a skill inventory. And what I want to call out about this is that understanding the competencies and the skills that your people have in-house is not only beneficial for understanding what your teams are capable of and helping people move and grow more efficiently, but also for tracking growth. You will be able to see the holes and where you're light and where you're strong. But more importantly, are you improving? Because again, if we remember tying this all back to business outcomes, growth in all of those necessary areas that you need will be something that you want to track. And then last but not least, probably the $1 million question is about business outcomes and ROI metrics. This will vary based off of what your business is trying to succeed. But these are the things and just some really great business outcome examples that I think this group could focus on. Time to market. Are we bringing products to market quicker? And then quality of initial design and number of use speaks directly to what all of you are putting together, which is the learning and talent development experiences. Is the content being consumed? Are our people growing? Are they developing? Are they taking new jobs? Are they trying new projects and new short-term assignments? And then, of course, two things that tie directly back to the business sales pipeline. Are we selling quicker? Do we have more leads coming through the funnel? And last but not least, if you go back to the financial payments example, how many locations are now digital first? Perhaps the most forgotten about aspect, which of course you knew I was going to come back to because it's really important. What about the employee experience? We so often, ourselves included, so we are all in this together, is thinking about the employee experience and what it is that they are experiencing as they go through the learning journey with you, as they go through their career journey. And hence, I know many of you know this, especially coming out of the retail and airline industry, but the customer first experience couldn't be more important here. And it is your employees that will deliver on that promise. So we have to remember to take care of them too. A couple of suggestions of what that looks like. First things first, help them with their skill elasticity. Help them not just develop for the roles that they need now, but for the roles of the future. Your people want to help themselves and they want to grow. The contract between employees and employers has changed dramatically. It is no longer you give me years and time and I pay you. They want and are demanding more out of the relationship. They own their careers now. What role are you going to play in helping them grow, either inside or outside your organization? Now, you might say to me, hey, I am in a high turnover environment, or people leave quickly, or I don't really want to invest in someone that's going to leave fast or turn around and take that knowledge to a competitor of mine. And I think the chief learning officer at BMO Financial Group in Canada, Gina Genero, said it the best. We all benefit from a raised waterline. All ships float higher when the waterline is raised. So yes, it may be a bummer, but when we have a more well-rounded, smarter, better skilled group around us, a better skilled globe, we all benefit. So what skills should you think about? Here's a list straight out of the State of Skills, which we actually released yesterday, if you can believe it. So this is very hot, very new information. We talked to 5,000 folks around the globe about what are the top 10 skills that they wish that they had right now and or that they're working on. And I highlighted there in the blue box for you in terms of consumer and retail. These are the top 9 skills that folks want. And the call out here is that yes, you will see some of them are programmatic, highly specialized fields. But more than that, people want to build skills that are transferable no matter what industry, role, whatever it might be that they're in. Your people want to be well-rounded in lots of different skills that they can take with them no matter what job that they have. And in case you're curious, one, I can send you the report, but also, here's a few other industries that are represented in case you are also curious. So here's my challenge to all of you. Unlock the power of your employees by enabling skill development. This will help both of your business and your employees as we write this road to recovery. If I have not made the case for you yet, I'm going to give you a couple more slides as to why you should be thinking about this, because I want you to understand the power at your fingertips and the power of skills and skill data. Employees and employers that provide a learning culture have these 3 key things that, again, if you remember back to setting the stage for business outcomes and goals: develop faster, they adapt better, which all of us are trying to do now in this age of constant disruption. And then last but not least, they last longer at your company, which is something that we all care about. And here's the biggest opportunities. If you're thinking, okay, Sarah, this is great, I am bought in. We will focus on skills. I will have a skill-based strategy. We're going to do better about getting skill data. But where do I spend my time right now? Here's a couple of quick wins for you. So this question is in response to which of the following would be most helpful from your learning organization. And you can see right away, I probably would have said games or rewards and motivation, which, don't get me wrong, is important. But you see at the very top here that it is actually things that tie exactly back to the messaging today. Things to do with skills, understanding where skill gaps are, and providing opportunities to apply what's been learned. I truly believe that that's a really important missing piece from many cultures and many learning organizations, is that we give this great information. We spend tons of money on training and learning content and learning experiences. And then we sometimes forget that there needs to be application and practice of those skill efforts. So don't forget to provide opportunities to apply what's been learned. And then, of course, the top 2 there, aligning learning to skill gaps and assessment to find out what those skill gaps actually are. I will leave you with this because I want to reiterate one important point. Skill development is something that needs to be done by everybody within the organization. You, as learning, talent, HR, business leaders, need to set up the culture where people can grow, where they can move, create that culture of mobility, create the ability to try new things, to try and experience new things. Maybe it's short-term projects, maybe it's, mentorship and coaching. We have to set people up with the right tools and the right environment to grow. But as managers and leaders, we have to be able to set people up for that. We have to encourage development and encourage growth and make that okay. And then last but not least, for all of you, as ourselves, we have to be growing. We have to set the example that growing, that taking the time to learn is something that we should be doing regularly now. So with that, I leave you. Again, I'm happy to chat you through any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for allowing me to come into your homes and your offices today and spend a little bit of time with you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you have any questions, there's my contact information, and we'll talk to you soon.